Why is it so darn hard to heal, and why does it hurt so much? You know, those are the questions that I get asked all the time. But I had this particularly poignant conversation with a client this week that reminded me that I probably need to remind you about why it's so hard to evolve. Why is it so hard for us to heal? Why is it so hard for us to get beyond our stuff? And why is it so hard for us to grow and evolve? And so I want to really point this out to you as quickly as I can. The whole idea of healing, you know, you would think that healing from something should be a good thing, should be a joyful thing, a relief, all that. And it is in the long run. But the process of healing is difficult because the fact that it's just like wound care. You have to open up a wound sometimes in order to heal it. You know, I was thinking about this on the way to work that, you know, if you get a splinter, you got to dig it out in order for it to heal and to not become infected. You have to work through the tough stuff. So if you have some trauma or you have some difficult situation, if you have a relationship issue, if you have whatever it is, you've got to dig it out. You've got to get in there and figure out what it's going to take for you to heal from that. And that's exactly why so many people avoid it, because it's difficult, it's hard work, it's uncomfortable, it's emotional, it's can be even wrenching. And but the thing is, how the heck are you going to get beyond it? How are you going to move beyond it? You know, everything I talk about is about conscious evolution. And as far as we know, we are the only species that can consciously decide that we are going to evolve beyond our stuff. All other species kind of learn as they go. It's a trial and error kind of thing, and kind of a in the moment sort of thing. But we as humans can think ahead to go, wow, I really need to get past this. I really need to stop thinking this way. I really need to stop repeating these patterns. I need to stop grieving for something that happened 27 years ago, or whatever it might be. And so I had this conversation with a client, actually several conversations that kind of led to the same thing this week. But one of the conversations was about the importance of doing the human condition and the spiritual condition. So everything I talk about is about soul development, soul evolution. And as a psychologist, most people think of psychologists, and most psychologists do this, they think about healing the head, healing the things that are going on inside our head. But I take it much further because I look at this from the standpoint of we are healing in order to evolve. That is the only reason that we do it. Now, again, most people don't take that viewpoint. But the thing is, we have to do the human part of this in order to do the spiritual part of this. We have to do the spiritual part of this in order to do the human part of this. It's not separable. We are doing the same thing when we are working through our stuff. And most people don't realize that. Most people don't realize that evolution and healing beyond our stuff is a spiritual process. It is part of our own form of survival of the fittest. And so it's that idea that, yes, healing and evolution are difficult and uncomfortable and exhausting at times, and yet when you get on the other side of it, you are so darn glad that you did it. So let's take this whole idea of just doing the human condition versus the spiritual condition. So it is important, obviously, to dig into our stuff, dig into our wounds and get past it. But if you can heighten your awareness, if you can expand your view and understand that that is part of your evolution, and really just the consciousness of, gosh, what can I learn from this, helps soothe the pain. And most people don't even think of it that way. That is one of the first concepts I teach clients is, gosh, what are you learning about yourself as part of your difficulties? What is it that you are expanding in your awareness from having gone through whatever you've gone through? And if people can just grasp that one idea of understanding that there's a lesson, there is something that you can gain from going through your difficulties, it seasons us. Those difficult times season us. They help us become who we are, particularly if we become conscious of that process. So there's a human condition, but if we look at it from the spiritual condition, if we can expand our view from the get-go of a difficult event starting or occurring, we can go into it with a much lessened level of difficulty. We can go into it saying, okay, yeah, I know this is going to be difficult, but I'm going to be getting something out of it in terms of growth and evolution and awareness. It shifts everything. And so I try to help people understand that you can't just do the human, well, you can assume you're doing the human condition alone, but really you can't also do the spirit condition alone. couple people that I've worked with have just wanted to flood themselves with spiritual writings or readings or go to workshops, and that's all the only part of their development that they wanted to work on. And I always tell them, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't do the human condition as well. You're not going to get where you need to be. Sure, it is lovely and beautiful and easier for us to just flood ourselves with wonderful thoughts from Thich Nhat Hanh or from any form of Buddhism or any form of writings that are enlightenment. Dalai Lama, I love listening to him, but he talks about evolution indirectly. And the Pope, he's talking about evolution indirectly. So we can't just do the spiritual condition. We've got to do the human condition as well, because they meld, they blend. It is a process that we are going through as far as our evolution, just in the sake of being humans. But the second we decide we're going to be conscious of that process, healing becomes easier. It becomes so much easier. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying it's easier. And so it's that whole idea of how can we heal in an easier way? How can we move ourselves through understanding that we are going to get something in the end? And so healing is a difficult process. One of my favorite stories about a client was at the end of the session, we always look through and make sure that the dates we have in the calendar work. And we were looking through calendars, and I just see her stop and go, oh. And I look up at her and I said, is everything okay? And she says to me, gosh, this healing is hard. It's so difficult to get through this. And I said, yeah, healing is a difficult process. And so it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of determination. It takes a lot of energy to do the process. And she's like, yeah. So we go back to calendar, and like 2 seconds later, I see her do the same thing, go, oh. And so I look up at her again, and she says, Dr. Kelly, are you still learning? And I burst out laughing. I honestly can't remember what I was going through at the time, but it was difficult. It was one of those mucky kind of times, and I was going through that process and trying to learn from it. And I said to her, in my laughter, I said, oh yeah, just because I'm on this side of the room does not mean that I'm exempt from the human condition. And I told her the only difference is that I go through it from both the human perspective. So I feel everything, I dig through it, I go through the muck, but I also experience it from the spiritual condition, and the soul condition, meaning that I look at it from an expanded purpose. I look at it from the point that, okay, I don't know how I'm going to pull everything together at the end, but I know that I will. I know that there's going to be lots of growth, lots of fodder, lots of things that are going to fertilize me along the way, and I just have to be present and aware in order to extract those little golden nuggets throughout the process. So that was one of my favorite stories, and I use it a lot because of the fact that it was so poignant in her own development, and we can laugh about it now. That was probably 5 or 6 years ago, but we can laugh about it now. So anyway, it's the whole idea of, the human condition hurts, but the spiritual condition soothes. So just keep that in mind. The human condition hurts, but the spiritual, if you can stay in the spiritual or the soul condition, it soothes the process. So we have to do both. We cannot separate them. In fact, it's inseparable. We think we can separate it for those who don't see themselves as spiritual, but everything is a spiritual process. And a couple weeks ago, I did a video on the fact that everything is soul stuff. It's not small stuff, it's soul stuff. Everything is fodder for growth. Everything is seasoning us in one way or another. And our consciousness and our conscious evolution is what gets us to the end product. So just wanted to kind of throw these words out there and help you understand it is a difficult process. Everything that's going on in the news these days, it can really mire us down, but I'm trying to help people understand that even that is seasoning us. It is here not to mire us down, but to raise our awareness of where we are supposed to be going. So all this stuff we don't want to see happening in the news, well then what can we do to change it? What can we do within ourselves? How do we learn to love ourselves more, love others more, help the process, speak out, all that. But everything is soul stuff. So we cannot separate the human condition from that soul condition. So I want you to give that some thought, and would love to hear your comments on this. And also the newsletter I'm doing tomorrow, that will be going out tomorrow, and you can still get it if you're not on the list by tomorrow. You can still get that by signing up. But go to my website at www.Dr.KatherineT.Kelly.com, and that newsletter is all about how do you forge earnestly ahead regardless? How is it that you get through the muck and take it to that next level of understanding that there is something at the end of it that is going to be worth the while, even though it's difficult in the process. So thanks for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I would love to hear from you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.